there. Welcome to the Field of Streams, where every week I, your host, Janine McRae, read a short piece of my writing to you so that you don't have to. Think of it as my gift to you. Now, I can't promise you much with these missives, but I can promise you this. I won't keep you long. These episodes are short and easily bingeable on, a walk or a road trip, whatever. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk art. Have you ever seen the painting Whistler's Mother? It's a painting by James McNeill Whistler of his mama sitting in her mourning attire. That's mourning as in grief, not that she was in her PJs or nightie or anything. Fun fact, Whistler's mother is actually not what the painting is called, and people started calling it Whistler's Mother, which became a bit of a sticking point for little Jimmy at the time. He had a much different name for it, but it just didn't stick. And I won't spoil what that is as I mention it during the course of today's reading, so look out for that. This episode was inspired by reading that Whistler's mother, Anna was her name, was not the first choice for a portrait sitting that day. Long story short, the girl who was supposed to come and be painted was a no-show, and as a way of saving the day, Whistler asked his mother if she would like to sit instead, since I guess he already had his painting smock on and his favourite playlist on the phonograph. This no-show basically led to one of the most celebrated paintings around and became a symbol of stoic mothers in general, everywhere. They made statues of it. She was on stamps. She's even become a meme. So I married that idea of, right place, right time situation with a joke I always make about myself, that I play the role of the blurry friend in photographs. Never the subject, just the scene filler. Like I said, it's a joke. I never said it was any good. And it came about back when I used to do photo shoots as part of my job, and I would help set up the shot by sitting in for the framing or the light meter readings, occasionally becoming the out-of-focus friend in the actual final product. That was me. What would I have done had I been presented the opportunity, like Whistler's mum, to step out of the shadows and become not the blurry in the background person, but the centre of attention? And that's the general theme of this bit of writing. What do you do when the chance for you to come into that sharp focus is presented to you? When you are thrust into the limelight to be the star of the moment, will you be seen clearly, finally? And what about now? How do people see you now? How do you see yourself? Are you in sharp relief? Or don't you know who you are, my blurry friend? So many questions as per usual. Let's get on with it. Without any further mixing of my paints, I invite you to sit back, relax, and allow me to read to you a piece of my writing called It Was Never Supposed to Be Whistler's Mother. Smudge on the pane, a blur at the edge of perception. We see ourselves as nothing more than the stand-ins, the light meter ride-alongs, the frame fillers, a smear on a frosted window, forgotten in the shards. It was never supposed to be Whistler's mother. We don't audition for this role. It is bestowed upon us by a malicious casting agent just doing their job. Blurry friend number 1, out-of-focus crowd filler number 3. Never to be the centre of attention, we bleed on out into the dense spectrum and crunch our pixels like dutiful extras. Not photogenic enough, our presence is censored by the scenery. Always on the blend, we stir turpentine into our oil and mash into the canvas weave, being careful to avoid the lumens of the limelight, lest we steal the glint in a stranger's eye. We stretch and arch and reach for the very corners and edges, not quite out of frame, but definitely not in it either. It was never supposed to be Whistler's mother. We are the invisible ones. This is not our gallery. These are not our patrons. Background actors with no scripts, that's all we are. No union, no busting, just the standing this way and that, or sitting. Never the focus, always the blur, always the blackness, never the star born to streak across a canvas sky. Unobtrusive, space filler, time killer. It was never supposed to be Whistler's mother. until it was. One can only imagine the conversation. James McNeill Whistler, West Point washout, the artistic son, mother's bohemian boy. Anna, his mum, a champion of his work. In his corner, but also, in the metaphorical corner of life. She was, as all mums are, just mum. Reliable, there, orange slices at the ready. Mom, mama, mommy, matron, says James, probably. This absolute flake of a girl hasn't shown for her sitting today. I've always wanted to paint you as I love you so, even though you don't approve of my flamboyant bohemian lifestyle, which I only know because I read it on Wikipedia. Anna, 67 years old. Probably. If you think I'm going to stand for this, you are sorely mistaken, Jimbo. She sits. Is that what it takes to bring us to the centre of the frame? A cancellation? The moment of our revelation held in the blink of a no-show? A too busy? A not today? It was never supposed to be Whistler's mother. The initial smudge of her as he works the outline, the blur of her life beginning as a light gesture on canvas, firming up as time in the studio progresses and James does his art shtick. She sits there patiently, a mother claiming her space in his story. Look at her, Anna, the champion of us all. All the unseens, the off to the sides, the depth of field victims at the edge of thought. Getting, as the kids say, her flowers, and in the process giving hope to us all that one day we too shall be the subject and not scene stuffers. Arrangement in grey and black. This is what Whistler called the painting when he was done, forgetting for a moment that his mother was actually a person and not just mother. He called it that, or so he said, to emphasise its aesthetic qualities rather than its subject matter. Its subject matter being his mother. A slight? Perhaps. But we can't ding Whistler for that. To point at him would be to point at ourselves, to highlight a quirk of human nature. The blur paradox. The outline of those we love most at close volume is often filled with the most static. The sharp edges of another person's existence are a mystery unless we turn their dial to clear. Who thinks of their parents as having lives before us, of being young and in love, of doing stupid things while drunk? The true nature of their lives before we came along is blurry and out of focus until we sit and paint, until we place them at the centre of the frame. But wait, flip the script, pull the focus, turn the camera to you. Forget how others see you for a moment. How do you see yourself? Is blurry friend a role you have assigned yourself? Always off to the side, never the centre of the frame? Are you a victim of your own depth of field f-stop obscurity? Sure, there is value in the smudge. In the smudge you have the freedom to be the quiet observer, collecting material for your art. It is a superpower. If you are a writer, an artist, a creative soul of any kind, in the smudge you are free to mine the complicated frames of the world, seeking materials and cements and dirts and slurries to make your pottery, your paint, your world goops, words, and more. Relentless, ruthless, they suspect nothing. All your pixels blending into the background as you watch the centre stage of it, smiling, even though you are not listed in the playbill. Leaning, sitting, holding a glass that is never filled in this wide apertured world. But tell me, oh fuzzy one, in the blur, have you lost yourself? Are you really that out of focus? Or is it just how you see yourself? Thinking ourselves smudged and invisible, we cannot comprehend that we may be seen with crystalline clarity by those observing us. It is inconceivable that we may read clear and strong in the minds of others and be the centre of someone else's life. Through the eyes of our sons and daughters, our parents, our friends and lovers, and strangers on the street, we are seen, we are perceived, we are heard. In the soundtrack of the play, we may not be the melody, but keen ears will find us in the grace notes. Whistler, upon finishing the portrait of his mother, is said to have stepped back and said, "Oh, mother, it is mastered, it is beautiful." In that moment, Anna became more than just a placeholder or a stand-in. She became a scene stealer, finally seen in the scene and on the scene, a mother for all times. Arrangement in grey and black. Who knows what Whistler was thinking when he called his portrait that, but the world did not buy it. It did not stand. They turned his clarity dial for him, twisting until the shape of Anna became clear and strong, a signal that has broadcast in stereo into the corners and arches and storage rooms of galleries for over 150 years. Ladies and gentlemen, here before us is an exceptional oil painting you will recognise immediately, a portrait beloved by all and painted by the American-born artist James McNeill Whistler in 1871. It was always going to be Whistler's mother. And there you have it, today's episode. As a reminder, I share these missives as a way of showing my creative process, and hopefully by doing that, inspire creative folk to get out there and make something of their own. If you enjoyed what you heard, follow this. I once again hesitate to call it a podcast since it's more an audiobook reading of a book that doesn't exist, the Book of Janine Thoughts. Sorry, I'm rambling again. Subscribe is the basic message so that you never miss an episode. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Love what you love, and I'll see you out there making stuff.